Today we're going to be looking at lesson 11 and getting ready for 6th grade. It's page P267 and P268. You need to have those things, and you need to also have a highlighter. So we're going to do distance, rate, and time. How can you solve problems involving distance, rate, and time? I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording and zoom in. I think that'll make it a little clearer for you. So you can use the formula distance equals rate times time to go ahead and get your highlighter and highlight that. That's a formula you'll use the rest of your life. I use it when I'm planning a trip or when I'm on a trip and I'm going to part of my trip in one day. You know how long it takes me to take me to get there. And it is also like our volume, length times width times height, and our area, length times width. So they're things you're going to use. You can use the formula distance equals rate times time to solve problems involving distance, rate, and time. In the formula, D represents distance. Go ahead and highlight that so you can see it. Oops. R represents rate, and T represents time. The rate is usually the unit rate comparing distance to time, such as miles per hour. Okay, so it can be anything, but if you're going on a trip, you're probably going to be doing miles per hour. So it says, what word is used in place of rate? The rate is how fast you go, so it's your speed. What are the given values? That distance equals, oh, we haven't read that. Okay. We'll go back to that, but we're going to do what is the unknown value. Okay. So let's look at our problem. The winner of an automobile race drove 500 miles at an average speed of 150 miles per hour. How long did it take the winner to finish the race? Now we're going to go back up here. What are the given values? Well, take your highlighter, and he drove 500 miles at the average speed of 150 miles per hour. So this is the rate. Remember here, we said rate is equal to speed. So they give us the distance, which is 500 miles. And they give us the rate. He's going fast, 150 miles per hour. And remember, he's in a race. Okay. So now they're going to take you through the steps. Step 1 is to write down the formula, just like I asked you to do with your length, width, and height. Then you're going to go in and replace the D with 500. That's what they did here. And the R with 150. So we're going to write 150 in here for the rate. Use what you know about inverse operations to find the time. So we have 150. So the inverse of divide is to multiply. Or of multiplication is to divide. So we're going to come over here to the side, and we're going to divide 500 by 150. Here in the formula, we were multiplying, so we're here to find our time. We have to divide. So 150. So let's see, 150 times 3. Let's see what that is. That's 450. Can we do any more? No, we cannot. So we're going to put our 3 above our last 0. And we're going to say 450 here. And we're going to subtract that. I'm going to do some regrouping. And so I have 50 left. Now we know that we can put our remainder over our divisor. So now we just need to simplify that. And we can simplify that by dividing those each by 50. So 50 divided by 50 is 1. And sorry, I'll get that on there where you can see it. So 50 divided by 50 is 1. And 150 divided by 50 is 3. So now this seems pretty easy. So it takes the winner 3 1/3 hours, or 3 hours. Now some of you maybe wonder, how do I know how many minutes 1/3 of an hour is? Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, and if I divide that by 3, it goes in there twice. And then I need to fill that place value. So 1/3 of an hour is 20 minutes. So the winner of the automobile race, it will take him 3 hours and 20 minutes to finish his race. So now we're going to look at example 2. A race car driver traveled an average speed of 120 miles per hour. So this time they're giving us the speed to finish a race in 2 hours. So now they're giving us the time. What is the length of the race? So our given things are our speed and our time. This time we don't know how far we're traveling. So if we put those in, we write down our formula, distance equals rate times time, and we know that we don't know our distance. So we know that we're going to go at 120 miles per hour for 2 hours. So let's multiply to solve for D. So just like in our formula, we're going to multiply 120 times 2. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 2. 240. So that tells us that our distance is equal to 240. So his race is 240 miles long. Okay, now we're on page P268. We're going to do the Sharon show. So I might have you stop your recording. A cyclist traveled 45 miles in 3 hours. What is the cyclist's speed? So he traveled how far? 45 miles. So if we were to write our formula, that would be distance equals rate times time. We would know that he traveled 45 miles. That would be our distance. We don't know how fast he traveled, but we do know that it took him 3 hours. So we're going to go ahead and go over and put this into what they give us. So write the formula, distance equals rate times time, which we did over here. So what are we going to put in here where the rate is? We don't know. So we're going to just put our R, but we do know the time is 3. So replace D with 45. We don't know the rate, but we replace T with 3. So the rate is blank miles per hour. So we're going to have to use our inverse operation again. We're going to have 45, and we're going to divide it. We're going to use that inverse operation and multiply by 3. So I'm just going to do that right here. If you need more room, you could go over there. 3 goes into 45 once. We subtract, we get 1. We bring down our 5. And 3 goes into 15 5 times. So the rate is 15 miles per hour. Okay, we're going to go ahead and look at number 2. It says use the formula distance equals rate times time to solve. Include the units in your answer. So we have to decide what we're doing here. A train travels at an average speed of 80 miles per hour for 5 hours. How far does it travel? So its speed is 80 miles per hour, and it traveled for 5 hours. So in this one, we need to know our distance. So I want you to write the formula. Distance equals rate times time. And then you're going to go plug those answers in. And we're going to do that same thing on number 2. Let's read number 2 real quick before I turn off the recording. A horse travels at an average speed of 12 miles per hour. So we know its rate. How long does it take the horse to travel 60 miles? So we know the distance. So in this one, you're going to be able to multiply your two numbers. In this one, you're going to have to divide. So go ahead and stop your recording. Do number 2, and then I'll come back. Start your recording again, and we will come back and go through it. Okay, since you started your recording, I am assuming that you worked the problem. So I'm going to get my scratch paper here. And I'm going to put my formula down. Distance equals rate times time. And it says he traveled a speed of 80 miles per hour. And it took him 5 hours. So this one we don't know the distance. So distance equals 80 times 5. 80 times 5. And this is going to give us how far he traveled. So 80 times 5 is 400. So he traveled 400 miles. Don't forget your label. Okay, go ahead and stop the recording and work on number 3, sorry. Okay, so in number 3, a horse traveled an average speed of 12 miles per hour. How long does it take the horse to travel 60 miles? So in this one, we know the distance. We know the rate, 12 miles per hour, but we don't know how long. And right here is your key. How long does it take? Okay, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put distance equals rate times time. I know that my distance is 60. My rate is 12, but I don't know what my time is. Now in this one, we're going to have to do the inverse of time. So we're going to take 60 and we're going to divide it by 12. So I know that that is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Regroup a 1. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 60. So this is our time. 5 hours. We're going to go up here and we're going to put 5 hours. Okay, I want you to stop the recording and I want you to go back and do on your own. And I'm going to do them and then I will put them up to the end of the recording here so you can check your answers. Okay, so I assume since you started your recording, you've worked the on your own. I did 4, 5, and 6 for you. I gave you an example of how to set up number 7 and number 10. So I want you to go ahead and work those and then go into your Google Doc and put your answers.